Hello everyone, this is my review for WWE Monday Night Raw on December 30th, 2013. And just to say right off the bat here, I felt they did a really good job with Monday Night Raw this week. It was kind of surprising because, I was going with the expectations of, it being like the Christmas special, the Christmas show and everything like that. Usually the last two shows of the year are kind of them just doing a couple random doing random things to get themselves through the through those shows so they can get back to storyline building after the holiday season. Usually they don't stick to storylines all that much, and this time around they really did stick to the storyline. They were sticking to most of their storylines, and even building their storylines going into the new year and everything on that aspect. Right from the get-go with CM Punk coming out there challenging the Shield to pick the best of them to face him one-on-one, automatically throwing Dean Ambrose out of there and everything. I felt that promo came off really well, and it was actually a nice little subtle stepping stone to a potential Shield breakup at some point in time. And that's the one thing I'm really liking about that particular storyline with CM Punk and the Shield. Obviously it was just about a year ago where CM Punk was using the Shield at all times to keep the WWE title, and now he's here trying to break down the Shield and break them up at this point in time, just a year later. And it's a nice little subtle touch that they are putting to that. The Shield deal kind of began protecting CM Punk, the heel, the champion at that point, and now you have CM Punk here. He's playing the face, and he's trying to break up this heel team that came in a year before. And so those little subtle touches to the storylines, I feel they are doing a really good job with, and I'm liking the fact that they're doing a slow burn with the potential breakup of the Shield, and not just like doing it right away. It's been really good, really fun to see. I even like the promo with Damien Sandow. He was going to get the WWE Universe was going to get the vote on his opponent for the night. I liked his promo before he went out there for the match, saying with the different stipulation matches and everything he had been put through over the last couple months, and everything on that, and everything going in there, if he wasn't going to be able to beat this opponent that the WWE Universe was going to pick, he was just going to quit. The way he just delivered the promo, and just everything he used from past instances in the Raws and SmackDowns and everything that had been happening with him, he just got across the point. It's like, hey, he's had enough, and it came off really well. And then of course he had to face the Great Khali. Now this goes to another aspect that I was kind of shocked with most of the show. Not just how much time they were focusing on promos, but how much time they were focusing on the matches themselves as well. Obviously Khali can't put together a 5-star match, but you can at least come up with something decent. And they actually went with a longer type match, and it didn't really come off all that bad, because a lot of the times Damien Sandow was controlling everything that was going on, even when it was the offense that Khali was throwing out there. Sandow was selling it well, and it came off as actually a decent match this time around. And like I said, with other matches, of course, the Seth Rollins CM Punk match was a great match. It's a great way of kicking off the show. But the Fandango Big E Langston match was a lot of fun. It just the only disappointing thing that I could see throughout the main portion of the show is that they were putting together a lot of these really good matches, but the crowd seemed to be really dead for most of it in any way, shape, or form. Like they were continuing the building of the storylines with Xavier Woods and R-Truth versus Brutus Clay, and I'm actually somewhat liking where they're going. I'm a little bit disappointed that they're continually putting over, or not allowing Brutus Clay to go over. They're obviously, it feels like they're trying to go for that monster heel, but it's not really coming out at this point in time. So I'm wondering if they're actually going to eventually make him go over these two and go into like a monster type heel gimmick, or he's gonna be just written off for good or at least for the time being at this point. So we're gonna see where they go with that. But for the most part, like I said, everything came off really well with the exception of one segment, and that was the Divas tag match. And obviously the main reason behind that is they billed it as another Total Divas versus non-Total Divas, but when you really think about that storyline, it's pretty much anybody who's on the Total Divas show versus AJ Lee. And obviously without her on the show at all this week, it really doesn't play off all that well, and it doesn't seem as important, even though most people probably don't care about the storyline. It doesn't come off as important because the other divas that aren't on the show there aren't being used all that much, and with some cases that's a good thing, and in some cases that's actually a bad thing there with Caitlyn and I believe Alicia Fox as well, who can put on decent matches in the ring there. So but that was pretty much the only real down point to me. Also, like I said before, I felt like the matches themselves were really good. It just felt like the crowd was really dead for most of the matches in general, and seemed to not really care, which is going to be kind of disappointing for some of those storylines here in the near future because they didn't really get over in some way, shape, or form. This brings me to this actually brings me to the other points that I actually really liked about the show. Obviously, they've put the announcement out there that Cena and Orton is going to be the main event of the Royal Rumble. It's going to be for the WWE World Heavyweight Title. You expected this to come at some point in time. I was kind of hoping for a triple threat match, adding Daniel Bryan in there, but I'll get to Daniel Bryan here in a little bit, and maybe we'll see something past the Royal Rumble with that as well. The Brock Lesnar segment in general, I felt it came off great. Outside the fact that if you give Brock Lesnar the microphone for more than 30 seconds, pick up some popcorn and start counting. And just start counting how many times he's going to mess up his lines at that point in time, because he is not good on the mic. He's great with that, what you would call the elevator interview, the 30-second promo. He's great with those. He can get those off really well. You give him a little bit more time than that, it just doesn't come off well. At that point, you pretty much want to give the microphone to Paul Heyman and let Brock Lesnar be Brock Lesnar. So Heyman talk, Brock beat up. At that point, that's where they really need to stick to. They didn't stick to it tonight, and Brock Lesnar came off really weak on the mic just because he was coming off strong, saying, "Oh, he's going to call himself #1 contender" and everything like that. But he was messing up so much in that promo. And then, it led to what was the eventual even better moment that I felt throughout that segment, which was, of course, Mark Henry coming out, accepting the challenge of, him calling out anybody to try to say, hey, he's not a #1 contender. He doesn't need to win the Royal Rumble. He doesn't have to wait in line type deal. The spots that they did through the barricade, and of course the F5 onto the floor as well, just really great, and just showed off truly what they really need to show off with Brock Lesnar, and that's his power and how well and how agile he is for the size that he is and how much power he has in general, and they did a really good job there at that point. This does lead me into which was the main event of the night, which shockingly went on for a really long time. Not in the aspects that I felt it was bad that it was really long. Just, I felt like they would have given it less time considering where they started it. And that was the Daniel Bryan Wyatt family. The Wyatt family, 3-on-1 like gauntlet type match where he was facing each member one-on-one, and that was it was built that way from the beginning of the show, where he said, "Hey, I want Bray Wyatt," and then Brad Max makes him face Luke Harper, then Rowan, and then he would get Wyatt if he won both of those. His match with Luke Harper was a phenomenal match. I think it went like a good 20-25 minutes. It was really great, the back and forth action between the two of them. Obviously the match with Rowan was was a lot quicker in that sense. And then of course, you know, to stick with everything, you know, not too many people are actually getting to Bray Wyatt and everything like that. The Bray Wyatt match never happens, cause of disqualification right from the get-go. This brought to the promo after that where, you know, I felt they pulled it off great because, you know, you're doing the typical 3-on-1 beatdown, and you got the typical Bray Wyatt, you know, doing really good with a really good promo, but you got the typical Bray Wyatt promo, and then it felt like it was almost out of nowhere because they've been building up this whole aspect that Bray Wyatt's been trying to get him to join the family for the past couple months. But you never got that wary moment of Daniel Bryan that he was thinking about joining the Wyatt family at any point in time. But then, almost seemingly out of nowhere, he does a "you're right" on the "you're right" on the microphone, saying, and started cutting the promo and saying, "Hey, I want to join." Everything in that aspect there, you know. And I felt they did a really good job with it. You know, him just cutting the promo saying that he's right, the machine's never going to let him go over, and it's never going to let him win. And anything in that I felt they just did a really good job all the way up to the basically them cutting off Raw, where initially Bray Wyatt had knocked out Daniel Bryan again, and it looked like Luke Harper and Rowan were going to help him up the ring. It was almost like the capture segment from a few weeks ago, but then they kind of stopped holding him up, and he was kind of like Bray Wyatt accepting him into the family type deal. You know, him having to walk on his own up up the rampway, and even a little bit of a tease at the end there is like, oh, he's not going to actually join the Wyatt family, but then he kind of just goes, and that's how they cut it off. And I felt they just did really good in how it almost kind of came out of nowhere that he was joining the Wyatt family, but they did a really good job with the entire aspect of that storytelling there. And it was just a great way to end the show in general. So overall, I felt that, you know, most of the show came off really well. They spent really a longer amount of time than I expected on a lot of the matches. The promos, the storyline building, obviously, with the Shield and the Wyatt family and Daniel Bryan, and a few of the other smaller storylines, I felt they did a decent enough job to a really great job to you know, continue building them. And it was just nice to see them going with a storyline-driven type show versus some kind of random show where they were going to almost kind of like a throwaway show for it being the end of the new year. And obviously they're building it into the next week's Raw, which is the old school Raw at that point in time as well. And they did build a few things off that, you know, saying giving indications of which legends were going to be there, and then obviously a match or two that was going to happen on the show. So overall, I just felt like Raw came off really well in my mind, and I felt, and hopefully we'll continue seeing more Raws like that here in the future as well. I just felt like they did a good job this week. So yeah, this was my review this week for Monday Night Raw. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.